Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. It's actually Thursday, and the patch is live, so better late than never. It's time for the top 5 changes of patch 12.6. As always, I'll be going through the biggest changes in this week's patch, and letting you guys know what you can be looking forward to in the coming weeks. Now, 12.6 has a bunch of really interesting changes to talk about, but there are only like 4 or 5 of them, so I did have to kind of pick one towards the end and just say, yeah, sure, we'll talk about this. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the bigger ones here. Starting off, of course, with the Mythic shop update. Now, this is a big one because finally it enables us to actually get prestige skins if we want them. Obviously, this has been live for a little bit, so you guys have probably already seen all this, but instead of gemstones, you'll get Mythic Essence, and existing gemstones have already been converted to Mythic Essence. And important to note here, content will include prestige skins, but all content in the Mythic shop is going to be available on a rotating basis. This means that most of the Hextech skins have been vaulted in the meantime, and that if there is a current prestige skin that you want, make sure to get it now before the shop rotates, and basically makes it unavailable for the next several months. Now, I do think that this is a much better way for doing exclusive content in general, even though there are a couple of feels bad moments about this, so I hope that Riot are able to keep this up, and I do hope that this is a significantly better way for them to release things in the future. Moving on to our number 4 change here, we're going to be talking about the Darius buff. Now, this is a really, really big one because of how Hemorrhage affects his ultimate. Max Hemorrhage stacks increases Darius' ult damage by 100%, which means that even though these numbers don't look very high, remember that effectively they get doubled when Darius is at maximum Hemorrhage stacks, which means that he's actually getting a significantly higher bump to his damage than you would otherwise expect from this. So this is a really, really big deal for Darius. It does mean that in the scenarios where he's able to close the gap, he's going to be dealing significantly more damage. Obviously, it doesn't address his primary weakness of having to close the gap, but it does make him more rewarding to play overall. Moving on down to our number 3 change, we're going to be talking about the Rengar changes. Now, Riot said these are adjustments, but I think these are basically just straight buffs, in all honesty. I think especially the biggest thing here on Savagery, applying to basic attacks against towers is a huge deal, and gaining the critical strike chance, increasing the empowered attack's damage, is a really big deal. That means that Rengar actually, if he builds incidental crit just from other items that he wants, he's still getting a ton of value off of that item in general. He's not sort of wasting it, and just the fact that it counts as a crit in general means that you're not really losing any damage off of the Q at all. So it's a really, really big deal. Bola Strike being able to be Q'd, Thrill the Hunt giving you a little bit more vision around the nearest enemy. Like Rengar lost no power here. All Riot did is just give him more power in all of these abilities that they've changed. So I do think it's good overall for Rengar if you are a Rengar player by giving him a lot more ability, or just clarifying a lot of his things and making him feel better to play, but definitely his power level has just gone up, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Rengar nerfs on the next patch. Moving on down to the number 2 change here, which is Treasure Hunter currently existing. Now, Ravenous Hunter was the previous rune that existed in this page. Not to spoil a little bit of my number 1 change here, but Ravenous Hunter is now gone, being replaced by Treasure Hunter. Now, Treasure Hunter initially looks pretty underwhelming on paper, but the biggest thing for me is that this is going to be extremely powerful in the hands of assassins who scale very well with gold and who have very strong early games to let them kill champions, then cash in the bonus gold on Treasure Hunter, and then be able to use that to snowball harder, or on AD carries who happen to be in domination anyways, and can sort of say, well, you know, I'm not going to be trying to kill people in the early stages of the game, but if it happens, that's a little bit more gold in my pocket, and AD carries are another class that scale very well with gold, so it ends up being exceptionally good for them. Also note that even though at max stacks you only get 550 gold out of Treasure Hunter, that's still a good chunk of gold, and this is in addition to kill gold, this is in addition to shutdown gold. Like, if you're able to get all 5 kills off of Treasure Hunter, you have 5 kills worth of gold, plus the bonus gold from Treasure Hunter. So it's not like this is just sort of an irrelevant amount of gold. I think this is actually a very strong rune, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of assassins, especially very strong early game assassins, running this rune now. And moving on to the number 1 change here, of course, which are the nerfs to sustain. Now, this has been a constant push and pull that Riot have had for years now at this point, trying to make sustain usable, but not overwhelmingly strong to the point that you can just negate any and all interaction that you have in lane, or be able to sort of sustain yourself up after every trade. So Riot are back on the sort of one side of the pendulum where they nerf down sustain. We are going back down to 8% lifesteal on not only Immortal Shield, Bone Blade of the Rune King, the 2 best lifesteal items in general right now, but also going down to 8% lifesteal on Vampiric Scepter. In addition, Ravenous Hunter is gone, Fleet Footwork has been nerfed as well, and Legend Bloodline as well. Now, I do hope they leave this number at the 8% here. It constantly, like, alternates between this sort of 10%, 8% value, and every time Riot buff Vamp Scepter's lifesteal, they inevitably have to nerf it down again. So I am hoping that they leave it here for the foreseeable future. I just don't think it's ever going to be healthy if you buff it up. You're just going to have to put it back down to 8%. So lifesteal is generally weaker, but if you still have synergies with lifesteal, or you're still looking for some kind of sustain, like, these items are still going to be totally fine, especially Immortal Shield Bow, which did get a buff to its amount of shield, which is quite nice. And like Fleet Footwork, Legend Bloodline, yeah, they got nerfed, but they're still usable. Like, if you're a character that still likes these items, or likes these runes, like, you're still going to take them. They're just going to be slightly weaker than they were previously. And that's going to be it for me today, guys. Those are the top 5 changes of patch 12.6. I hope you guys found this interesting, and you'll have to let me know which changes you're most excited for down in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and leave it a like, and if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days like today as well. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all later.